being so dang late to the party. Craig is not here, and as you can see, I am mobile. So that is the drill. Let's see who is jumping on here. And let's see that if I can actually see if I'm live. Let's see here. All right. How you doing, guys? Make sure that you say hello. What's up, Troy? What's up, Edward? Yes, alive. Really. Sorry, guys. I'm the coders, and that is not my world. So I was having all trouble getting fancy, so that's why we were doing this on the phone. Hopefully, if you guys can hear me, let me know and make sure that that sound is good. Is it a little bit? Hey, what's up, Renegade Girl? How you doing? Let me see if. Yeah, here we go. All right. Hopefully this will be a little bit better as we go and we get this thing started. So that's better? Good. I'm glad that's better. So today, guys, I wanted to talk about performance plateaus and training ruts. So if you guys are jumping in here, we've got a little Nora here saying hello. She's coming in for pets. I was gone for a couple days, so she's all excited. Yeah, the way I'm streaming with this, guys, it's you guys are getting spoiled with our 4K camera setup and footage, so this is going to be a little bit more worse. Anyway, wanted to talk about training ruts and performance plateaus and everything, but before we get into that, where are you guys coming in from today? What's the weather like in your neck of the woods? How's your running going? What'd you eat for breakfast? We can always start with a little, kind of fun and friendly conversation there as we get ourselves set up and ready to go. And we always sort of like to hear those types of things. And Oklahoma City from Dave. How you doing, Dave? I was actually just in St. Louis yesterday, which was very, very cool. We got to eat some good barbecue. Blues Museum had some museums. What's Edward saying? Edward's saying it is sunny during the days, highs in the 20s, overnight lows below 0. Hey, man, that's almost like summer up in your neck of the woods. Joy says, coming to you from Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Joy, how are you? Carrie, hey, what's up, Carrie? Idaho is unusually warm, having some great runs this year. Yeah, California was like stupid warm last week. Like it was nuts. Like I think it hit 80 degrees in San Francisco on Monday. That's got to be some sort of record for February. So crazy. So crazy warm. It definitely was colder in St. Louis, I'll tell you that. I brought my big puffy jacket. We didn't really do too much running outside. Cold here in Arkansas, and I am coming back from being sick. I know that the flu has been pretty bad this year. And I think I was actually just talking to some guys from Reebok in Boston, and they're just saying like the constant fluctuations in temperature from being really cold to being really warm and back and forth gets really, really hard. So that's always a tough thing right there. Yeah, Edward says it's a good thing we have an indoor running facility up here. I hear ya. Brenda says, sunny in San Diego, feels like summer today. No kidding. Nice and warm. Well, exciting things, guys. We are continuing our giveaway, and we have our giveaway from last week, which was some of our some of our UCAN packets that we're going to be sending to you guys. So we'll be doing some drawings for that at the end of the hour. Very excited for that to happen. And then, even more exciting, we have, or equally exciting, but it's kind of our stuff, so more exciting. We have our Surf's Up virtual 5K race coming up around the corner. and we are going to be giving away 2 free entries to this race to one of you lucky individuals. And what's cool about this virtual race is that included um, with the virtual race, you get a wooden surfboard medal. Here, let me get that. And you get a free month of training club memberships. You get to train with us a month before. So the race is going to go down on March 31st and April 1st. And then you can train with us, kind of the month leading up. Everyone around our global community jumps in. It's a big party. We have a really, really good time, and we are super stoked to do that. We are partnering with Reebok for this race, and they are going to be sending some goodies in your way in terms of some pretty good discounts for some of their gear, which is pretty exciting. Do you guys want to see the medal? I'm going to show you the medal. It's pretty sweet. We have a wooden surfboard, true to California form. Nora's interested in what the medal is. Joy, very good question on what a virtual race is. Our virtual race is a 5K that we are putting on the weekend of March 31st and April 1st. And the beauty of this virtual race is that you can race from anywhere. You could race out your front door, around your block. You could run it with a bunch of friends. This could be part of another event that you're already doing, and you just get to double up on medals. For those of you guys who are training for anything longer, say a 10K or half marathon or marathon, we could get that 5K virtual race included in there as well. So bunch of really cool options, and we will drop ship this to you. It's always fun when we get to send you guys real stuff. We don't really get to do it all the time, but when we do, we usually like to have a good time. So we're gonna send this to you, and we're pretty proud of this. It's a cool wooden surfboard, and yeah, we get some good toys. So there's a link down in the description. You can enter, hit that Gleam link, and get in there, and you could be a lucky winner to get in. Otherwise, guys, it's $29, and then you get 1 month of training that also is basically worth $29. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. But for those of you guys who've done our virtual races in the past, super psyched for it. Susie, I think you mentioned that you had our shirt. Super cool. I know, I love this shirt. This shirt feels good. And, we are doing more gear. I don't know if you guys have seen our hats. Let me go get them. As we start to move around here, I'm going to go into our TRE closet here. Scary. Craig's not going to be maybe happy or too happy that I'm showing you guys the back way here. Let me see if I can unearth some of our hats and pull at least 1 or 2 out. If I can find them, that's always a tricky thing. I don't know where these darn things are. Dang it, Craig. Oh, funny story. I know where the hats are. They are in my house. So I'll have to show you our hats another day. But we are selling really cool hats. And if you could imagine, what those look like, then you will be, all ready to go. And you can go ahead and get those as well. For those of you guys who are on our list, I actually just sent you guys an email yesterday on how to get them. So we are super stoked about that as well. Here we go. Down and back to my spot. So I wanted to talk about training routes. Let's get into this. I have, seen this with athletes who have been around a little bit longer. They're not always, it doesn't always happen too often in the beginning. Sometimes beginner runners, the danger is they burn out a little bit mentally, because they take on too much too soon a little bit, and they're like this phoenix that just goes up in this bright blaze of glory and then kind of crashes soon after. So we want to find something that's sustainable for you beginners out there, and that means not getting excited and racing 4 or 5 times or 6 or 8 times in 2 months, joining those races every weekend. It's good to space those out a little bit, thinking sustainably, what can I manage I'm really excited about running. Should I go from 2 days of running a week to 6 days of running a week? You know, giving your body, I think what's really important is, you know, mental and physical recovery. This is true for everyone, but setting that schedule where in the beginning, you're gonna have to like hold yourself back a little bit. So I usually like one full day of no training, where you're really maybe just focusing on some light mobility work, and you go for a walk, you're relaxing, and then every couple weeks, like a good target is like every fourth week, you cut down your volume and everything else, and that's going to be how you are going to take care of things. Let me go ahead and jump on here with Facebook. Hey, I'm going to be live on Facebook as well. I haven't been live on it yet. Here we go. Now I am live on both. Little settings here. What's up, Facebook guys? We will get you going there too. Howdy. Where are you from? So with my beginner runners, we want to think about what is sustainable, what makes sense. It's okay to not run all the time. You can run and focus maybe on an event and let yourself take a little bit of a break. And usually when you come back and excited to run is a good time to do it. You know, one of our you know, longtime athletes, Lee, is actually jumping in and taking some kickboxing classes. So she's kind of keeping that spark of new stuff, and I've explored a lot of different sports, which is really fun to do. So I always really enjoyed that. Oh wow, the streaming is pretty poor on this. Well, sorry guys, this is what I got for today. But for those beginner runners, you know, that's really how that is working, and that's a good kind of a balance. You know what I mean? I'm going to get some good training in. I'm going to push, and then I am going to let myself back off mentally and physically, not push myself too crazy, and I can go ahead and do it again. So that will be the balance there. For my more advanced athletes, and this is where I want to get into when we start to see training ruts and performance plateaus, you know, a lot of the low-hanging fruit has been picked, so to speak. You know, early in a beginning as a beginner runner, what's really exciting is that basically every time you do an event or you train, you get faster. Super cool. You're just getting faster all the darn time. But then what happens after a little while is that your performance that starts to look like this starts to level out and get a little bit flatter. And what's interesting when you become more of an advanced athlete is how you continue to elicit positive gains and improve. And that's the tricky part of the whole situation. How do you figure out how to do that sustainably so that you can really see some good improvement all the way through? That's where we want to start to mix things up a little bit. So if you have been in a training, you know, system for a little while where you've been kind of doing the same types of workouts reliably, and you've been doing the same, you know, just sort of approach. Like I run with the same people, the same speeds, the same stuff all the time. This is where actually getting into some sort of progressive plan is really important, where you are stressing different energy systems and you are stressing the extremes. And basically what that means is you're doing some things on the higher end where you're really going faster, and then you're doing some stuff on the lower end and you're going a lot slower. A lot of us like to stay in that comfortable gear. And especially if you're that runner who is mostly used to half marathon training and maybe some marathon training, that half marathon, long run gear is very comfortable. But your 1 mile gear or your 5K gear is not comfortable at all. And that's where we want to spend some time. So actually one of my favorite things to do is, you know, let's say in the off season is kind of the opposite of what you do in the in season. So if you're someone who's knocking out some marathons and you're kind of worried about speed and injuries, and you feel like you're in a rut, like you're really just not going any faster, even though you can run forever. Well, the off season, this time of year, do a lot of shorter interval work, do some more strength work, enter in some shorter races, especially in the spring. Really target those higher VO2 outputs that get you running at much, much higher intensities and lactate thresholds, and your tolerance will improve and will skyrocket. And that's a really nice way to keep yourself fresh. Conversely, if you're someone who hammers all the time and does a lot of short races and is kind of feeling stuck there, well, then it actually might be a good idea to jump up in a race distance and train a little slower and longer for that. Get used to that stuff, and then you can come back to your thing. For all road runners, hey, go ahead and spend a training cycle of like 6 weeks on the trails, where you may be running on the trails once or twice a week. That can be really, really good for you. And then, if you're a trail runner, guess what? Get on the track, get on the road. I'm actually personally in that rut a little bit right now, where I have been, trail running for the North Face 50K all fall, and that was really good, but I was just doing so much slogging up and down hills that I feel like I've lost my speed on the flats. So what I'm trying to do is do a lot more flat running and some pickups and really improve there. Edward says, I like to frame speed interval work as a type of running that really can improve your form of efficiency. We definitely agree, Edward. I think that when we are running at those higher intensities, we're a little taller, we're a little more engaged, our arm swing is a little more purposeful, our legs are going a little bit more. There was a question in our community the other day where we got the question of, hey, how do I run well at slow speeds? Can I run with good technique at slow speeds? And you can. You have to really think about it. But what's interesting when we start to go faster is that sometimes the better technique starts to happen, the cadence is up more, just because we're really paying attention. So that can be really, really good. And you play with this. Longer tempo stuff, when you're really starting to fatigue, intervals of 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15, they can get a little long and ugly. But when you're doing intervals of 30 seconds to say 2 minutes, those can be short enough and focused enough that they're really, really good to do. So I'm rattling on. I'm chatting with you guys. My apologies. I know that the feed is not the best. Oh, it looks like it's getting a little bit better. Hopefully that is just a nice little improvement with the interwebs. What do you guys have? What are you guys working on? What's on your mind? Help me out. I don't have a co-host, so you guys got to be my co-host today, and you got to come up with witty banter, and you have to distract me and pull me off subject, because Craig is not here, and that is normally his job. So now that is your job. Edward said, and found that efficiency feeds right back into longer runs. Definitely does. I think it's so important. Edward, like, one of my general philosophies is to be a better specific athlete, I need to be better generally as an athlete. I need to be good on the general side too. And both of those things have to talk together. So sometimes if I get too specific of a marathoner and I'm doing too many marathon paced workouts, too many long runs, too much on just kind of those flat pavement and terrain, that is going to blunt me as an athlete. It's going to blunt my capabilities. So spending some time as a sprinter, as a 5K athlete, as a 2-mile athlete can be really, really good. Yes, running Greek girl, you should pretend to drink a smoothie. That would very much help. I appreciate that. Dave says, hey, avoiding continued pain in the knee, strength training, rolling, stretching, warm-ups before long runs. David, are you dealing with some knee pain? Is that the deal? Is that what we're working on, and you're trying to figure it out? Well, we got time. We can talk about it. Tell me where the knee pain is coming from. Like what side? The front, like kind of the inside part of the knee, the outside part. Let me look over here. Carrie says, you've talked about how to win with dogs, but how do you run from dogs? Workouts in the country helps me stay focused, but there's so many dogs. Any advice? Carrie, that is interesting. So basically dogs are chasing you. I know they sense fear, so we gotta be careful about that. If they're sensing a little bit of fear, and we go, um, you know, I'm not really sure. I would have to know a little bit more about the situation. If these are familiar dogs, dogs you don't want to be running with, kind of what to do if you just sort of ignore them. Maybe, if you're near a house, like pick up something and just kind of push them off to the side. Not that we want to be smacking dogs with a stick. What am I saying? Would never do that. But if I had some creature that I thought was going to do me harm, I might do that. Um, Going back to Dave's question, here you guys are starting to perk up a little bit. There we go. This is a two-way street here, guys and gals. Dave says left leg outside part of the knee. Okay, so if we're looking at that outside part of the knee, I'm gonna give you guys not a full crotch shot, just a little bit. If we're working on this, outside part of this knee right here, what we're looking at is our vastus lateralis, and our IT band is right here, and then we go a little bit further back into our hamstring. So what we want to spend some time on is some rolling that is going to go basically. Let me see here. I'll use my little roller 8 back and forth this way. So not only do I want to roll back and forth here, but I want to go east-west. So for those of you guys who've been with us for a little while, you sort of know this idea of east-west. And what's nice is that when I have pain on this outside part of the knee, which is sometimes this IT band, what I'm doing by going here is that I'm actually peeling this outer quad off of that IT band so that all those sliding surfaces can start to slide and glide and do their job a little bit better. So if I roll this way, I'm going to get some blood flow. It's definitely helpful. This is like my warm-up, massage strokes. But then when I want to get in a little deeper, I'm going to go back and forth here to get in. A lot of hip and single leg stability is going to be good. We've got some videos on single leg deadlifts, ankle and hip strengthening, and if I can get my glutes and my hips firing better, that is going to drastically improve your situation. And one of the things that I would even do before you run is do a set of 10 squats, do a set of 10 lunges, and then do like 10 single leg quarter squats per leg. Really try to get those hips firing. That will really, really help a lot from the movement standpoint as we go. So that would be my advice for you, David, as you go, and just be patient. You actually may find that running downhill is probably going to bother you more than running up. And if you can kind of do short doses of uphill running, say on a treadmill, that's a nice way to test this out. But be patient there. Let's see here. Dave says, yeah, it's been frustrating. I've never had issues until I started pushing the miles, it seems. Thank you for the information here and the videos on the app, of course. Just keep going. Guys, sometimes a mistake I see is that runners will try something. They're like, well, I tried the couch stretch once, and it kind of helped, but I'm not sure. And I'm like, I'm still not going, so I'm going to move on to the next thing. So it's a common error in physical therapy where it's not that the medicine is bad, it was a dosage problem. So with the couch stretch, you got to do it more, right? With this rolling and stuff, like you got to double down on it. And when you're unconfident, you're unsure, I know that's sometimes hard to do, but if you can spend time with that, that makes a big difference. So with a lot of this mobility stuff, guys, if we're not feeling a big effect from it, like our first step is to double down and see if that can improve a little bit better. Let's see here. Dave says bring dog treats. That's not a bad idea, Carrie, although that might attract more dogs if you're like running with strips of bacon and everything. Weekly soccer preview, just starting to get into running. How do I set a pace, and how do I know what pace I'm running at without staring at my phone all the time? With all of our devices, they are very, very helpful for figuring out where we should be running at. But athletes for millennia have developed their internal clocks. And you work with athletes who run on a track, And, without a watch, they get so good figuring out what pace they're on that you could say, hey, I want you to run a 2-minute quarter blind, and they'll be within a second of that. I need you to run a 145 400 meter, a 148, a 137. With practice, you start to feel there. So honestly, running on track is super helpful to be consistent and to figure out what's going on there. Um, the other thing is to think about perceived effort, and to think about, like, hey, is this a 10 out of 10 effort where I'm just dying, breathing, the eyes are bugging out of the head, my heart rate's beating out of my chest, or am I doing like a long run effort, which is like 4 or 5 out of 10, I could do for sustainably longer periods. I could hold a conversation and pass that talk test all the time. If you're coming from soccer, you're used to sprinting and running fast all the time. And I actually remember when I went from soccer to cross country, I didn't know that you were allowed to run slow and easy. And I was like, this is great. I kind of enjoy these long runs because all the soccer training we did was getting ready for 2 miles. And, I would just be like sprinting, like, sub 6 minute mile, 5 minute mile. And I just was dying. I was like, I can't even run 15 minutes because I'm dead all the time. And I showed up for my first cross country practice. We had a 55-minute run, and I thought I was going to die because I thought I had to run at the speed that I was doing in soccer. And then I realized, oh, we can run slower. That is okay. So I would start there. Weekly soccer preview, go for a 4 to 5 out of 10 effort. Go slower. I should be able to have a conversation. We have some great videos on breathing through your nose as a way to kind of regulate your efforts. You're not breathing too hard, and it actually promotes better breathing mechanics too. Craig is in the house. What up, Craig? How you doing? I was telling the gang earlier that because you're not here, they have to play co-host and distract me and drink green smoothies and all that fun stuff. So there's a nice little conversation here around the dog treats with Carrie and spray and everything else. Edward says the spray can during the summer is for bears. Oh yeah, if you're running around with bears, that's something you want to go the other way. Dave says bring dog treats. Carrie says, usually we can just ignore them, but sometimes they do chase us. Don't want to hurt the dogs, but had anyone run with spray? I guess the thing would be like if they just keep running with you, that is sort of annoying how to go. I don't know, Carrie. I haven't run into that in a long time. So it's interesting to see what people say. Troy says I usually run with pepper spray. It's interesting depending where you are. You want to be safe. BCB Edna says, can we do foam roller daily? Is that not bad? By the way, nice roller. What's the brand name? Hi from Guatemala. So this is the Roll Recovery R8, kind of a cool toy. We use multiple toys in the TRE HQ, but this thing is nice because you can kind of roll your quads and hamstrings and IT band while seated. You don't always have to be on the ground for your foam roller. Can you roll every single day? Yes, you absolutely should, especially if you guys are runners. I personally believe that just to be happy, functioning human beings, we should be doing some degree of self-treatment, kind of on the daily, like at least 10 minutes of something. And if I'm totally healthy, I'm going to rotate through body parts. I might spend some time on my pecs and my shoulders and my lats, my upper back. The next day, I'm going to work on my quads and my hips. Another day, I might do my hamstrings and my calves. And another day, I might do my ankles, my feet. And I'm just going to roll through. If you're someone like Dave who's dealing with more of an acute injury in one area, I'm going to double down there. Now, one of the questions you get is, can you over foam roll and do too much? You can, but it doesn't happen that often, right? So for most of us, if you guys are doing 1 to 2 sessions a week, you are probably, or 1 to 2 sessions a day for like 5 to 10 minutes each, you're probably just fine, especially if you're kind of hitting different areas. But just for example, if I were to just kind of poke my forearm here for 24 hours, eventually I'm going to develop a bruise here, and this is going to get very, very irritated. So for some of you guys, I'm not saying that, you know, you get a little too overly focused and obsessive about things. I say that because I'm really talking to myself. And we start to focus too much on one injury or body part. We draw a lot of attention and we start to bruise the area. So in those respects, we want to give it some breathing room. But for the most part, we can use that time to work on other things. And let's say you're dealing with a knee issue, right? I gave Dave's example of working the outer part of the quad, but guess what? He would benefit also by rolling out his hamstrings and his upper calves because that also affects the knee. So if he feels like he's, you know, giving a little bit too much TLC to the outer quad, hey, switch it up. Go to the other part of the hamstring, go to the calf, get in there a little bit, and that's just going to help the knee all the way around. So remember, I can kind of work above and below and around the affected area, and that's actually usually a better sustainable way to go. Carrie says, hey Nate, where do we get that roller? I can't remember. Craig, I think, jumped in and said he's emailing Roll Recovery now to see if we can get a discount. This thing is not cheap, guys. Like, it is expensive, and it's got these, you know, rollerblade wheels in there. It's pretty cool, but honestly, I don't know personally, like, this is more convenient in some respects in that I can be upright and roll, but I don't know if I can get better self-massage on this versus a traditional foam roller on the floor. I think that traditional foam roller on the floor for me is a winner because I can just get a lot more pressure in there on the quad. So that's kind of one of my favorite things. If you are, you know, looking to mix things up, this is definitely a good tool. But as I said, it's not cheap. But we are working on a discount. My goodness, guys, it is 12:42. How has this happened? We are going to be doing our last week's live giveaway, which is going to be a You Can grab bag of goodies in about 15 minutes or so. So stay tuned. If you entered last week's or watched last week's live show, we will be doing that drawing. And very, very exciting stuff if you guys are just joining. We are soon launching. Can I enter to win since I'm a viewer? Craig, yes. And I will let you send yourself your You Can stuff. And missed your question, Troy. Let me get to it right after this little announcement, and then I'll jump right in there. And we are launching very, very soon our Surfs Up 5K virtual race. We're very, very pumped about this. This is going down on March 31st and April 1st. Some of you guys were asking what's a virtual 5K. It is on the weekend of the 31st and 1st, we are all going to run a 5K together. You could do this from anywhere, out your front door with your friends, part of another race or a longer training run. And you sign up and register, and we will send you this race medal along with, and this includes a free month of training from the training club. So for those who are not members and are looking to, you know, check it out and are curious, join this race, sign up with us, and we'll give you that free month, and we'll include it. You have that option, as well as some cool discounts from Reebok because they are the presenting sponsor, which we're very excited about, as well as the ability to raise some money for charity. So we have a partner we use called Charity Miles. You download their app. You can track your mileage. You join our team on it. You can track your mileage and training and the race itself. And then the mileage you put in will be count towards a donation towards the charity of your choice. You actually don't have to raise the money yourself. You just got to do the work. So pretty darn good. I think we will be sending shoes to some of the entrants as well. That is to be, actually, maybe Craig, you know. Damn, of course you are. Let me see. Troy, I think I missed your question, so I want to make sure I get to it. Oh, Marie says, hey, what if I'm in France? This is worldwide, guys. We're shipping all over the world. We had, last August, we probably had close to 600 runners from all over the world participate. We sent medals to New Zealand, England, Australia, Vietnam and Thailand, all through Europe. So check it out. There's a link in the, if you go to the Gleam link to enter for the giveaway to learn a little bit more about it, but check it out and go there. Craig, we can't accept croissants as payment because we actually don't know where the flour came from and if it's organic flour or not. So it's like, how are we really going to be able to compare one croissant to another? Like we got to be careful. And then also, of course, if it is an almond croissant, does that mean they get 2 free entries as opposed to just one? Dude, I think you can interrupt me just as much as a viewer, if not. But I like the idea of that. Oh my God, you guys are jerks. Troy, you are a member. Um, Let me surf up here. So Troy, let me go ahead and find your question. I'm scrolling, Troy. Where did it go? Let me see here. I'm going up, Troy. Here we go. I found it. All right, Troy, I gotcha. When I can't run for a few days and start back again, it seems to be really difficult. A 2 to 3 mile run gets tough and I get sore. I'm used to running 5 to 8 and I'm trying to amp up. Any recommendations? So a key thing, Troy, is consistency with the running. And sometimes, um, there can feel like this all or nothing aspect to our runs. If I can't get out for my 5 to 8 mile run, I don't go out at all. Well, sometimes that your body will respond positively even to those 1 to 2 mile runs in the interim. And once you sort of keep that wheel going, I think that can be really beneficial. If you're getting really sore, make sure that the runs are slow when you get back in, because sometimes you do need inevitable breaks. Stop and make sure that your warm-up's good. Make sure that you're kind of breaking it up with some other things, and make sure the pace is not too aggressive. But I tell you what, if I take a couple days off running and get back in, sometimes that first run feels a little funky. So what I try to do is not ping pong back and forth from like going 8 miles and then needing a couple more days to feel sore again. It's like, what? Um, my body responds to consistency, so I'm going to run maybe 3-4 miles tops, and then I'll combine that with a strength workout. Like I'll add some good little strength and core routines, so I'll still get maybe an hour's worth of fitness in there. Maybe finish off with some intervals on the bike or a rower if I have access to a gym, and then I'll be able to build my running up that way. That'd be my advice for you, Troy. Um, let's see here, guys. 10 minutes before we do that giveaway. Man, you guys are getting some great questions here. I saw another one in there that I wanted to pick up. Tracy Gale Hulak says, hot therapy or cold therapy for sore knee? Which works best? Sometimes cold hurts more. Some people like contrast for bringing blood flow to the area. There's a lot of new thinking around icing of injuries. I don't know how many of you guys like ice things. Really, what happens is that when you stick ice on something, you just numb it. And if there has been some sort of inflammation, uh, inflammatory response that occurred due to some sort of damage, that inflammatory response is a natural thing that helps expedite the healing. So we swell for a reason, if you think about it. The idea of icing it basically just slows that process down and it helps with pain. So if you're going to ice, contrasting that with heat to bring blood flow in there will really help and get that lymphatic system moving. That's why we use compression bands a lot. Wrapping tissue and moving around and getting up again can really help. So it depends if we just have some normal aches and pains. One of my favorite things, super old school, is just hot bath with some Epsom salts. That can feel really good. If it's in the summer and I just did a super hard session on the track and I'm overheated, or I've just hit a hard race and I have access to, say, a cold lake or ocean, I might do a little mini ice bath that just kind of brings my core body temperature down and just kind of puts out all the little fires on my hips, knees, and ankles. But I'm not using that to solve an acute injury, if that makes sense. Let's see here. What else you guys got to say? is Joy does is a great follow-up question for foam rolling. Is foam rolling supposed to be painful or feel good? I can't stand to do it for more than a minute at a time. Does that mean I have issues? So one of the things that's been really helpful for me is Joy. It's been described to me by some different physical therapists I work with. Happy, healthy, normal human tissue should feel pressure, right? If I push on something, I should feel pressure, but I shouldn't feel pain. If I were to grab someone's and these tendons, right above or below the elbow, and they're wincing, they might be like, my elbow is a little sore, quote unquote tennis elbow. They've got something going on there. This area is tense, and it's an issue. We used to do and talk about the pinch test a lot. If you go ahead and grab your Achilles and wiggle that around right now, if you have a happy, healthy Achilles and calf, you could grab that thing, you'll feel your thumb moving on it, but it shouldn't hurt. If you grab it and it's a little sensitive to the touch, for example, you've been doing some faster intervals, or your training is building up, that's a sign of what we like to call pre-injury. Now, it doesn't mean you're injured. It just means that potentially, if I just keep going unchecked, this could get worse to a point where it's totally injured. And that's where foam rolling plays a really important role, Joy, because it tells us what's going on under the hood with our own body and gives us better information to make adjustments before the injuries fully sideline us. So rolling is going to feel painful. I haven't done it in a while, and it's okay to embrace that. But as my tissues get healthier and more normal, the pain abates and it doesn't go away. And what's great is, you work on a few body parts, a little crunchy here and there, but you iron the kinks out. That's a good sign that you're on top of things. If you are really painful and it is like steel cord, foam rolling's new, haven't done it in a while, and also you got some work to do. Let's see here. Oh God, Craig says, Troy, I'm part of the training club, so my questions and comments get responded to first. Craig, you're a jerk sometimes, you know that? Your croissant questions. Let's see here. Dave says, does taping for runs help? So it depends on who you talk to. If you work with some chiros, like I think our sports doc, Dr. Kyle Bowling, he has successfully used taping in some strategies to help keep a knee tracking well, or to give a little support to an IT band. But everyone I talk to is really cautious about saying that this is, the miracle cure and should be the only strategy. Really, it's another tool that we can use in conjunction with everything else. So let's say a lot of times, like when you're building up your training, like if you're in the last 2 months of training for half or full marathon, like you're gonna feel a little beat up, like you're pushing your body to the edge every single week. It's not gonna feel great. And so you're going to do a lot of mobility just to kind of not get too far behind the 8 ball, but you're still going to feel a little beat up and sore, especially if you're pushing your mileage. And using that taping is a great way to supplement all the other work you're doing. So yeah, Craig was just kind of chiming in. I think Kyle talks about taping about helping you get through a workout for a race, but it's not a long-term solution. Yeah, so it's one of those additional tools we can use to help us get through that training cycle. But we want to go back to the drawing board from a running technique and form standpoint, a strength and mobility standpoint, to make sure that we don't have to perennially use that. And long story short, if you're someone who has tan lines on their legs and their shoulders because you tape so much, I know some triathletes who used to do that, we're probably abusing the tape a little bit. Yes, exactly, Ed. We're very similar to orthotics. They can be helpful in the beginning, but not always. David said, I used tape to get over shin splints. I believed it helped. Dave, we certainly are, but we want to think about why shin splints happen in the first place. our philosophy around here, guys, is that injuries aren't random events unless you get hit by a taxi cab or you fall into a pothole and you have this sudden, kind of random injury. The majority of injuries we face have a long-term mechanical component where I've just been piling on repetition after repetition after repetition where my mechanics are a little off. So if my foot hits the ground and just kind of collapses a little bit every single time, or I'm running and my toes turns out a little every time, or I'm just not doing a very good job of demoing with my hands. Uh, um, like tape might help with the pain in the short term, but it's not going to fix our long-term mechanics. And if we don't fix our long-term mechanics, the shin splints may come back as soon as you start to up your mileage again, right? So you don't want to be chasing your tail all the time. Good. Carrie says, rolling hurts at first, but it's better now and I love it. Yes, Joy, keep it up. You're in good company there. Tone says, it would be nice to have your live shows on iTunes to download and listen to them as a podcast while I'm running. That is a very good idea, Tone, and something that we have thought about. I'll just get our tech team on it, right, Craig? We'll just kind of package these up and put them off as podcasts. Yeah, he's capital Yes podcast. I love that idea. Guys, we're almost done. I can't believe it. I was a little nervous going in today to soldier this whole thing alone, and especially when the first couple of minutes I, displayed my tech competency level and couldn't even get online in the first place. But I thought it's been kind of fun. It's been kind of fun to talk to you guys this way. And Craig is still very distracting, even when he is just on a keyboard. In fact, he might be more so, but he'll be back. We had a few more questions. Valerio Mendez says, I've got this knee injury this week on the inside part of the leg. It hurts a lot in the first 2 to 3 camera runs, but then the pain goes away, as you mentioned in one of your last videos. The thing is, I have a half marathon this weekend. Should I run it or not? That's the question. What do you think? That's a great question, Blair. So it sounds like, you're on the earlier signs of this thing. I think you could probably dissipate some of this pain just by really rolling and attacking that inner part of the quad a lot. You might find some, muscle knots in there. Getting into your adductors and groin and your hamstring will help. A lot of just movement, mobility. The couch stretch will be really good. And just sort of see, like if this is just a pain on the scale of just 1 to 3 out of 10 where it's pretty mild and moderate and then it kind of fades, that just might be some aches and pains expected with training, and we can really deal with this later. If you're getting to the point where you're limping or you're limping afterwards right now, well then that's another situation for this race. We want to be thoughtful. The other thing I want to think about, Valerio, is I'm not sure where you are in the world, but for example, up in the United States, it is not even the beginning of the season for people. So, I just had a conversation with an athlete last week who was getting ready for a marathon in March, and she had a half marathon this last week and she wanted to race, but in a training run on the Wednesday before, she had a little pop in her calf and her calf was strained. And so we talked about it and we were like, look, if this was your world championships end of the season event, suck it up. We'll take care of that calf later. You've trained all year for this thing. We don't mind the trade of you limping around for a month or two afterwards and figuring this thing out. But this was a stop along the way, and she has a long season coming up, so it didn't make sense to put her further behind the 8 ball with her calf. And I think that's where you want to be thinking about the risk reward of the decisions that you make with your training. So it sounds like very briefly on what you said that we could probably just give it a little extra TLC, give it a nice little warm up, see how it feels in the race. If it's a little angry, maybe back off on the pace a little bit so you can live to fight another day. Or mentally, if you got a bunch of other things going on and you feel like the pain is a little worse and you're unsure, it never hurts to chill. And guess what about half marathons? There's more of them. There's actually more of them. Multiple weekends, every other weekend, so it's not your only opportunity to run that. Well, guys, it is 1. I made it. Very excited. And I am going to have to go ahead and do this giveaway. So remember, you can enter our giveaway that we're doing for next week. And if you are watching the recording of this, you can enter because we're going to do the drawing for our Surfs Up 5K next week. We're super pumped about that. Hit that Gleam link in the description below. That will show you how to do it. And you can do that right now while I'm simultaneously doing the drawings from last week. So let me pull that up and then we'll go on our merry way. Thanks, Carrie. The solo show is real. So, here we go. We got a bunch of entries. I'm promoting my winners. We have 2 winners going here. Very exciting. We are doing the drawing. Let's see here. We have, dun, 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 dun. Hold on, guys. Always having fun. Here we go. We have Chell Anderson from Nancy, Kentucky. Congratulations, you win a little UCAN gift pack, as well as Eric Rose from St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, we were just in your neck of the woods, Eric. You are the lucky winners of our drawing from last week, which was some of our UCAN stuff, some of our favorite nutrition. You guys will get a little goodie bag of things. We're super stoked. And remember, you can still enter for our free entries for our Surfs Up 5K and get one of these things in your life, as well as some other cool gear and some free training. Well, guys, it is 1:02. We made it. Digital high fives all around. You guys are awesome. Nora over here, as you can see, is just passed out by my feet. Nora dog. Do you want to say goodbye to the good people online? Do a little yawn? I don't know. Anyway, she's passed out. We got to eat lunch and move on with the rest of our day. Guys, thanks for watching as usual, and we will chat and see you online. See you guys. Cheers. Now, how do I get out of this thing?